What happens when a triple board certified psychiatrist builds a mental health company around a single principle? Balance in all things. In this first half of our powerful two-part interview with Dr. Desh, he shares how his own story immigrating from India, overcoming personal struggles, and choosing psychiatry from a place of deep empathy shaped both his practice and his purpose. In this episode, we unpack how spiritual awareness and neurochemical balance work together to improve your mental health, why identity, ego, and drama often get misinterpreted, and how to redefine them in healthier ways. The dangers of over-identifying with the labels like alcoholic or schizophrenic, from redefining ego to rethinking what a balanced life truly is. Dr. Desh invites us into a whole new way of seeing mental wellness, not as a destination, but as a moment-to-moment practice. So grab a coffee, take a breath, and settle in. This is Life Well Balanced with Dr. Desh and me, your host, Nick Houpt. Dr. Desh, my man, thank you so much for coming on here. And I just want to start by acknowledging you for the awesome human being that you are, because building the company that you built, Balanced Wellbeing, and leading with the mission that you lead with and what you do in the mental health industry is incredible. And I personally want to thank you for bringing me on board with this incredible company and giving me the opportunity to work in healthcare and to feel like I make a difference every day. So I want to thank you for that. And another thing that I want to highlight with you and acknowledge you for is being so patient forward and focused, because in this day and age, it's sad to say that a lot of doctors are in it for the wrong reason. And just seeing you speak and listening to things that you've said and seeing how you operate, I can clearly see that you are super patient focused and all about helping people with their mental health. So I want to acknowledge you for that.
Well, thank you for kind words. We never had a goal of growing big. It was all about providing a really good care to the patients and continuing to improve that on a daily basis. And then it started growing automatically. Good team members like you joined the company and it continues to grow. The growth is the outcome of providing a great care. As long as we keep our focus on improving the quality of care to the patient, improving the compliance to the facilities, focusing on the outcomes for the patient, and doing it in the right way, I think growth is going to continue to happen. It's going to be natural. We don't have to try separately for that.
Yeah. So let's start with the basics and let's get the Dr. Desh origin story. Who has inspired you? What experiences have you had? What challenges have you gone through that helped mold and create the Dr. Desh that's sitting here today?
Well, that's a pretty loaded question. When I was a child, I had a thought that I should become a doctor because it is a great way to help others and also fulfills that inner satisfaction. But I didn't have a thought about becoming a psychiatrist until I did my until I did my internship in my med school. And I was confused whether I should become a surgeon or whether I should become a pediatrician or a radiologist or ophthalmologist. I was confused. But when I went to a rotation in psychiatry, I felt the connection and I felt the calling inside, that I felt this is the field for me and that I'm made up for this. Then I also have an empathy about it because I had my own challenges I went through and I was able to relate to that and I was able to overcome that through my learnings. I had empathy and I have seen psychiatry patients around and may not be severe, but the challenges, and I had empathy towards that also. It just felt right to be in psychiatry. I was in India at that time and I realized that United States has one of the best educational institutes for psychiatry. I came to Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio, which is one of the top one and very reputed in the field of psychiatry. It just came along nicely that I got into it. I learned from a reputed, well-renowned clinicians, educators in the field. Then I came to Florida just because I am from central India and the weather is similar, Florida. I felt like coming back home. Although Cleveland was beautiful and all the winter and all that, I enjoyed it, but Florida is like home. I came here and started working in the hospitals, the nursing homes, the clinics, everywhere. I was on all the settings I was working. But then with time, I realized where my passion is and also where the need is, more need is. Like psychiatry in general has a lot of need. But I realized this is where I should focus more and more, and it became my expertise over the time. I was just working on my own and doing good work. Then I realized that I have limitations on how many patients I can service in a day. I started thinking along how can I create a model through which more patients will benefit with the same standard of care as I am providing, but without me being there. So then my thought process started, and I started developing systems and processes and protocols, and through which I was able to replicate it. Then I had to put monitoring systems on those protocols and outcomes to ensure that the quality does not suffer. Once that is established, then it was just a matter of growing after that and replicating. That's what we continue to do. Here we are, and we are continuing to improve our systems. So Dr. Deshmukh is my full name. People having difficulty calling Deshmukh used to call me Dr. D, and Dr. D was very common. There are many Dr. Ds around, so I kind of made it shorter and more unique and made it Dr. Desh and became a brand itself.
I go to a lot of places and they're like, oh, Dr. Desh, I know him or I've seen him speak, because you're an award-winning triple board certified psychiatrist. So shifting into creating the Dr. Desh brand and then creating the Balanced Wellbeing brand, how did that start? Where did the Balanced Wellbeing come from?
I was working for other companies, and then I realized that I needed to start my own to expand it more. So that's where the company got started. But the word balanced well-being came from my inner philosophy that in life there is no good or bad. There is always a balance. Anything in excess is bad, anything in too less is bad. It has to be balanced. Then I started realizing what is inside us is neurochemicals. It's a balancing of neurochemicals. All our nutrition, all our blood values, and all our blood reports, you will see there is a range. And we have to maintain in that range. So it's a balancing. If, let's say blood glucose, too less is not good and too much is also not good. We have to have balance. So all our faculties inside need to be balanced to achieve the well-being we're looking at. It's not just the body parameters, not just the neurochemicals and physical parameters. It's even mental parameters. How our attachments to various things. Too little attachment is not good. Too much attachment is not good. It has to be balanced. Our drive of progression, let's say progressing drive, too much is not good because then we neglect families, and too less is not good because then we're not motivated. So everything in life is balance. If we balance everything, let's say people call ego as a bad thing. I don't think ego is a bad thing. Ego, if we have a good, healthy ego, it helps us grow. It motivates us, get things done. It is our identity. We feel good about it and we move ahead. People say anger is bad. No, anger is good because it gives us motivation to do things right. If we notice something is not right outside or inside, it gives us motivation to do something right. All these faculties, resources we have inside, they need to be balanced. in order to achieve a good well-being outcome. So that's why the name Balanced Wellbeing came into existence. It was not just for nursing homes, it's a broader concept because our goal is not just to stay in nursing home, although nursing home assisted living is our expertise. That's where we have started focusing first. But we have clinics, we go to hospitals, we do telehealth, we have therapy. So we want to get into more and more other things also. Balanced well-being is a concept, it's an idea that can be expanded to everything, not just mental health, but also physical health and spiritual health. That's how it came into existence. That's a broader vision, and we're moving towards it.
You said a few things that I'd like to touch on. Let's talk about attachments. There's different attachment styles and attachment to certain things. Can you elaborate on someone that's listening and they don't fully understand what their attachment style is, or if they're very attached to, let's say, stuff as compared to things that make you happy and they're attached to a certain thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can give you kind of a more material, obvious example. Okay. Let's say you see a nice car and you have a feeling of having it. Okay. Now, just having a feeling is not enough. We need to have some kind of a attachment to that idea to feel motivated to do something to get it, right? If we develop some attachment, it will give us motivation. We will start moving towards that goal. But if we are too attached to it, like I want it tomorrow, then it's going to be more frustration provoking or lead to more stress or negative consequences. Having some attachment is good. Having no attachment, okay, then I don't care. Then what will motivate me, right? That is one material example. It could be attachment to your dream, attachment to your family members, attachment to your colleague, your own identity. That's just, car is just one example. But that's how human mind thinks. We start thinking about it, we develop some attachment, and then it gives us motivation, goal, energy to move towards that.
Attachment isn't bad. It's just a matter of that balance in the attachment, right?
Yes. Just in a normal, healthy range, if we have attachment, then it's good. I have seen people in spirituality talk about attachment is not good, but then it will make me a robot if I don't even have attachment to my family members, like or to my patients. There has to be a healthy way of attachment. Balancing it will give us enough empathy, enough connection, but will not overstress us. We don't have to please people. We don't have to get their approval and validation, but we are attached to them at a human level. Everything in life is a balance.
I agree. Hence, Life Well Balanced, the name of the podcast. And you had also mentioned ego, and then you said ego's not bad or good. Then you also said identity. Is there a correlation between identity and ego? Are they one and the same? Or are they separate? What's your thoughts on that?
I would say that if we develop too much attachment to the identity, it starts becoming ego and more ego. Like, I'm a doctor. There is no hiding of it. It's an identity. It's a part of identity. But if I attach myself too much, and let's say I lose a medical license for some reason, then I will be devastated. I cannot develop ego too much over it. Now, again, ego is also healthy if we are using it right. Being a doctor, I can help others. It's the range of healthy parameter, I would say, that decides. But I would say if ego is refined, what remains is identity.
How can you use your ego right? Can you elaborate more on that?
Let's say I'm a father, okay? And I have an ego of being father. If some danger comes to my child, then this ego of being father, this identity who is ego also, gives me motivation, it gives me purpose of protecting my child. Okay. that is driving my protection, my work, my commitment towards my child. It is a healthy thing, right? That's how ego guides us. If something wrong happens and some injustice happens, let's say, it's the ego that reacts. Okay, well, how can I let it happen to my child? That's where we start coming and start protecting. The ego becomes our driving force, and it gives us the ability and the confidence that I can do it because I'm a parent, I have to do it. And confidence from what I have done in the past, it is helpful if it is used in the right way.
Man, that's good. I think ego is such a buzzword right now, and identity.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much stuff out there that you can take one thing, almost like when you read the Bible, and you can utilize it for whatever you're looking at to use for your benefit. I think that a lot of people right now are talking about ego and identity, and some people are using the ego wrong in using, I don't know if I'm saying this right, using the identity of the ego in the wrong light, of using it as something like an excuse or to be able to get away with something or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, see, it's again how attached are we to various things. I have various identities. I'm a doctor, I'm an Indian from India origin, I am a husband, I am a house owner, I'm a person with good enough intellect. There are so many things that are defining me, right? That those are all the aspects of my identity. Okay, that is what is with me, that is what is attached to me, and that defines how I carry myself here. But who I am at my basic level, I am a just a soul or a life force that is existing. If I identify with that and don't pay too much of the emphasis on other things, and I balance everything, then it comes out to better balance, right? If I identify myself as just a life force or a soul or a living being, and then I have other things. I am also, the identity of doctor is attached to me, or identity of psychiatrist is attached to me, or person with brown skin is attached to me. All these are attached to me, and how much importance I give it, it's up to me. If I'm balancing it properly, then it is a way towards healthy life. Otherwise, it could lead to more problems if I identify too much with something. It's a conscious identification than automatic society filled learnings from outside. Instead of that, it's a conscious, mindful identification that will lead to better outcomes.
As you were talking, I was thinking about, do you think that there's a correlation between what people identify with or identify as to mental health,
Absolutely.
to anxiety and depression and things of that nature?
See, I'm against these words of that I'm an alcoholic, or I'm a schizophrenic, or I'm a diabetic, or I'm an epileptic. I'm against that because it is as if it defines me. A patient with a schizophrenia disorder, if they say I'm a schizophrenic, they're identifying too much with schizophrenia. They can say I'm a person with a schizophrenia disorder. That's not their whole identity. The whole identity is they're just a being, a human being, a life force, a soul, a divine soul. If they identify with, that's where the problem comes in. Too much identification. They cannot ignore it that they have schizophrenia because they need treatment for that. A person with an alcohol use disorder cannot ignore that, cannot take their eyes away from it because it needs treatment. But if they say this is all they are, then that causes their identity crisis, that causes low self-esteem, and it's not good for their mental health. I would say if they identify that they're pure being and that they are few things that are attached to them, good or bad or healthy, unhealthy, and they can work through that. Everybody has positives and negatives, and we can work through that. We can make proper use of it. A patient with schizophrenia, you would ask me why it is useful to them. Well, that's how they can relate better to other patients with schizophrenia. If they take good care of themselves, take good treatment, they can be a source of inspiration for other patients with schizophrenia that a person without schizophrenia will not be able to do. Right? What makes me a better psychiatrist, I feel, is I have my share of suffering in the past and I overcame them to a good extent. And that makes me better psychiatrist to appreciate the impact of the underlying psychological distress and how it can affect the life. That made me what I am, that interested me more in psychiatry, and that makes me more effective psychiatrist, right? What is attached to us gives us strength, gives us purpose if we use it properly. Again, it's balancing all these aspects. It's up to us, basically.
I was thinking about that with the I am statements of being an alcoholic and stuff. I actually had this conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago, and he brought up a good point, and he said when you go to AA in different organizations like that, you stand up and say, my name is blank and I am an alcoholic.
Yes.
And I think that can kind of hurt you more than help you sometimes. It may vary for the person or the mindset of that person, but he made a good point of saying, I don't know that is helpful.
Good point. I'm also board certified in addiction psychiatry. Basically, what they're trying to do there, again, it's not good or bad. Let's understand the underlying reasons. People with alcohol use disorder struggle a lot with denial that the problem does not exist. I'm fine. The problem is with others or life situation, whatever it is. The first step is to understand that there is a problem. Otherwise, we will not handle it, right? By saying I'm an alcoholic, what it means is at least they're acknowledging that this problem exists to a level that it is consuming me. I understand the idea and I support the idea, but I don't support them identifying their whole personality as being alcoholic. I would say if I were to rewrite the rules of Alcoholic Anonymous, I would say I am a person with alcohol use disorder. That is no denial. If we start denying that, then we will not take good care of it and then we will have more problems. But we don't have to define our whole being just because what we have with us.
Now, getting on the topic of alcohol and everything, I know with me, when I used to struggle with, I would call it a bad relationship with alcohol years ago, I noticed that I was more anxious, I was more stressed, and I didn't love myself as much because of the decisions I was making with drinking alcohol and everything. Do you see a correlation with mental health issues and alcohol abuse or substance abuse in general?
Oh, a big correlation. So first of all, there is a biological component that if you, let's say, example, alcohol, if you're drinking excessive alcohol, again, balanced, because in moderation, people enjoy alcohol and it gives them social life and it's all fine there. But if it is excess, that's where the problem is. And patients with addictions, they don't have that line of distinction. It just always leads to that excessive use because that's how they're genetically wired. It's hard to know who is going to turn out to be alcoholic or not. But once you realize that problem is there, that excessive alcohol use can lead to the impact on your brain and body, can lead to depression just biologically. You may have noticed that drinking too much alcohol, we feel too groggy, too down, depressed afterwards, after the initial euphoria is gone. It can lead to depression by itself. It can lead to anxiety by itself. Particularly during withdrawal phases, the anxiety is high. So that's a biological aspect. Now, the second thing is the psychological aspect, that I cannot control this. gives me a message that I'm not good enough, or the impact of it on my relationship and my job that starts defining me, that he doesn't do a job well, he's not a good husband, and all that has a psychological impact from itself. It has an impact on a spiritual life, depending on our belief system. It starts affecting not only biological level, but psychological level, spiritual level, social level, that if we are drinking so much alcohol, we cannot participate well in our social duties. It start affecting that, and that further affects us because let's say we are not socializing in a healthy way and we're just at home drinking alcohol, then it has further impact on our mental health. It is depressing not to have good social relationships. Patients with alcohol use disorder, they burn bridges with their family, their relationship suffers, they are not well trusted. Then that leads to further relationship stress, and that leads to mental health. There are so many interlinks that can affect our whole well-being.
Because I know with my family, my dad used to always say alcoholism runs in our family. When I was having that toxic relationship with alcohol, it was almost, I used it as an excuse of oh, well, it runs in my family, so there's nothing I can do about it. If someone's listening and they're identifying with being an alcoholic or abusing substances or whatever that may be, what is something they can start doing and implementing to shift that thought process and mindset from I am an alcoholic to I am someone that struggles with addiction, but I can make changes?
Yeah, again, here the balance aspect, I will come back, because your family told you that there was alcohol in the family. So that means there are genes that makes you vulnerable towards alcohol use disorder. It's good to have that knowledge, because if your parents had not given you that knowledge, then you would not know. You may use alcohol without knowing, and you may end up in the problem. They were doing the right thing by telling that, it runs in our family, be careful.
Then
Right?
I was doing the wrong thing, telling myself that's why
So
it's okay.
by knowing, but I think it's not your fault. Again, you had incomplete knowledge. And knowledge is power, right? This is why we're doing podcast, because we want to give the knowledge, empowers people to make the right decision, to make changes in their life. You didn't know that it is not a death sentence, that this is not defining your destiny or your future. It is a risk factor. You have to be careful, but it is not that defines you whole, or it is not something that you cannot change. Again, we have certain things in us that we have to be aware of. Awareness is what makes us better human being. We have to be aware that it is there. And if we are making the decisions towards healthy future, then we would be careful about drinking too much alcohol because it runs in my family. But let's say even if I become consumed by it, then knowing that this is not end of it, that there are treatments available and that there is a way to come out of it, that is the whole knowledge. That alcohol use disorder is like any other chronic illness, like diabetes. Okay, you have blood pressure problems. There is a genetic component, and then that makes us more vulnerable, but there are treatments available. There are lifestyle modifications. There are social modifications that we can do to keep it managed. We will not be able to get rid of our genes completely. We can even modify the genes by better lifestyle, by better socialization, by better inner psychological health, by better diet. We can modify the genes also. But we have to acknowledge that there are these genes in me that makes me vulnerable, and so I should decide accordingly. There are people where the alcoholism runs really strong in family, and it's better not to drink at all then, because who knows, if you start drinking, you may have slippery slope. Right? It's good to have that knowledge, but let's not be consumed and use that as our whole identity. There are ways to live healthy life with all kinds of problems unless it's a very severe.
You keep mentioning spirituality into everything you're talking about. I know with Balanced Wellbeing, you talk about blending spirituality and science, and you talk about mindfulness and heartfulness. Can you elaborate on that and touch on what really is heartfulness and how do you have spirituality and science working together in what you do?
Yeah, this is something really fascinating to me, and it really is interesting and kind of fulfilling. Now, in nursing home assisted living facilities, because patients have dementia and minimal limitations in their cognitive abilities and all that, we cannot do much of this work there. We are trying to do this work with patients' families and nurses and facility staff and community members. Just last week, I did a lecture at a nurse leadership conference on stress management and how to be an effective leader by nurturing your own mind and becoming better version of yourself to become a better leader, better provider. I did that lecture and I love it because it brings everything together. To come back to your question about how does it all relate, let me start with mindfulness first. I'm also a mindfulness trainer. I'm also a heartfulness trainer, but I do more heartfulness trainer work than mindfulness because I think they're very related. Mindfulness is about living in a present moment without making judgments. It's appreciating what is in the moment without being critical about it. When we are not thinking about past and future, and when we're not thinking about judging others or analyzing surroundings and all that, where we really are is a field of awareness. Okay, that's where initially I was saying, what is our real identity? Is it just life force? Is it just awareness and consciousness? That's where we really are when we are not engaged in the activities of the mind, going into past, future, judging, analyzing, thinking. These are all activities of mind. Okay. Mindfulness doesn't mean that we have a lot of mind activities. Mindfulness actually means we are being mindful of it, where we're stepping out of it.
Not letting our thoughts control.
Not only control, not identifying with them. This is my
Okay.
mind doing its job, and this is not who I am. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not even my experience that is happening. I'm the witness to the experience. I am the observer to the thoughts. That's the awareness. Where is that awareness? That's where the heartfulness comes in. It says that awareness starts from heart, that our being is in the heart. It is interesting in the world that we have all the reasons to not do the right thing, to take the shortcuts, and to do whatever it takes to get what we want, right? But we don't. We are ethical, compassionate, loving human being. Why is that? Why world is not people killing each other all the time? Is because the heart is what defines us. That's what we really are at our basic level. We are a soul being with a compassion, with kindness, with integrity and courage and bravery. That's why there are loving heart and brave heart and kind heart. All this word comes with heart. Nobody says you're a brave kidney. You are a compassionate liver. They say heart because that's where our real qualities, our real being is. By stepping out of the mind and getting into the realm of the heart, awareness is dissociating ourselves from the mind and the activities of the mind. Now, mind is not bad. Ego is not bad. Mind is not bad. Intellect is not bad. Everything is good, again, if we use it properly in a balanced way. If there is a thought and a feeling that is coming up, and I know, okay, this is what mind is experiencing, I'm going to honor it I'm going to give justice to it, but I'm not going to be consumed by it. I'm going to witness it, and I'm going to decide what is right for me and others for a better future. Then we are not rejecting our mind, that we are not calling it names, but we're just saying that, this is not who I am. This is something that helps me, just like my hand helps me. I'm not my hand. This is associated with me. It is there to help me if I use it properly. Mind is with me. It is there to help me if I use it properly. My ego is with me. It's there to help me if I use it properly. It doesn't define me. Not to identify ourselves with that.
What can our listeners do to, one, be more present throughout every day, two, be more aware of the thoughts that are coming through their head and how to utilize them in that good way that you had mentioned?
Unfortunately, it is not easy because we have been habituated with the patterns of thinking, and it has become a strong habit. To undo any habit takes time and takes patience and takes some effort. Now, the word effort could be daunting, but it is a natural way of living. It does take some initiation and some practice. Practice is what will make us better at this. Over the years, we have practiced too much thinking. We have practiced too much analyzing, judging. That is what we have practiced over the years. We have really become good at it. We have practiced worrying, so we worry all the time. We worry when there is no need to worry. If somebody is practicing anger, they become really good at it. They get angry when there is no reason to be angry.
Yeah.
Initially there is reason, then there is a minor reason, there is no reason, because so we have to practice. If we practice presence, we practice awareness, then gradually we'll become good at it, and then it will become our second nature. It takes time.
It's not something that people will just fix in a day.
See, we got here, our person with the problems got there, not on day one, right? It took time to get there. It will take time to undo it. But good news is it doesn't take that much time. Like, let's say the alcohol became problem over 5 years. Okay, it will take some time, but not 5 years to stop it or to step out of it. It will take more efforts. It will take years and years to maintain it. But to undo a lot of things doesn't take much time. It takes time to build something. It doesn't take time to destroy something. If you're building a building, then it will take months and years. But to destroy it takes less time, which is, we may feel it's not justice that it takes so much time to build, but there is a mercy of nature that, we can undo things much faster than time we took to did it.
I never thought about it like that, because I think when you're deep in whatever issue you're having, I think you're so caught up in it that you feel like you're never going to get out of it because you've been in it for so long. That's a really good way to put that.
Yeah, universe has mercy. It's kind to us. The nature is kind to us. It is helping. Undoing is easier than doing. That's why being in awareness is not a doing activity, is a being activity. So we have to undo things to be there than doing it. It's like saying how to relax. Well, it's not doing, it's relaxing. There is not much doing there. It's undoing.
What's that called? Wu Wei? Are you familiar with that?
No.
Trying to not try?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay, letting go.
Yeah. Now, you were saying that we train ourselves over a long period of time to be angry or worry and things of that nature. With social media and stuff, do you think that plays a big role on the effect it has on people and their negative thoughts or getting lost in?
A lot of the things I learned on YouTube, a lot of the things I learned by reading, but that can cause harm also if I am consuming wrong information or unhealthy information, movies, music, news, whatever source of information, then it can affect me negatively. This awareness of choosing what is right for me, it will help. Having all these things outside, again, it's not bad, not good. It depends on how we use it.
What society says that we need to
Yeah.
be like or how we need to act.
Again, if we have a weak sense of self, then we can get impacted easily. But if we have the connection inside and we have awareness and we know what is good for me, what is not, then we can stop it at that level. Now, what happens is patients with mental illness, whether depression, anxiety, anything happened in their life, trauma, experiences, and all those things, it programs their mind to think it that way. Somebody had an abandonment in the child. Anything minor happens in life, they feel like abandoned again. It programs the mind. It plays the repetition record in their mind, right? It is too powerful. It consumes them. That's where the medicines come into play. You take this medicine, it's going to relax this, it's going to decrease the intensity of what is going on in the mind. That's where the therapy comes into the mind. It says, okay, therapist talks to you, oh, you are feeling it this way because you were treated in childhood this way, or because this happened. That's how you're interpreting it. This is the inner child reacting and all that. That knowledge, that insight makes it a little bit easier to regain the control. Medicine, psychotherapy, all lifestyle changes, it makes it easier to regain the control. But the main aspect is to regain the control, to not being consumed by it. If we don't get consumed by it, if we don't identify ourselves with it, if we don't pay attention to it, then it loses its strength. Whatever thoughts we're getting, it loses the strength if we just step back and say, this is my mind. All these tools that we have in psychiatry, they just enable us to regain our being, to get back into our zone of being, which you can call mindfulness, you can call heartfulness, but it is that healthy sense of self and healthy space where we can go back and it doesn't consume us. But it's going to happen again and again, depending on what we have gone through in the life, depending on the trauma, but it becomes less and less intense by this practicing or coming back. And medicines and all that helps us to step out of it.
Let's talk about both of those things, medication, and let's talk about trauma as well. Because you can have trauma, something can be traumatic for me and not have an impact for you. Can we talk about, is there different kinds of traumas, or is there a different perception of trauma between individuals, or is it a story we tell ourselves? Can you talk about trauma a little bit?
Yeah, I'm also a psychiatrist in charge, a director at a trauma addiction rehab. I do that for like few hours a week just because that's also my passion. Patients come and say to me, these other patients at the trauma rehab, there's such a horrible things happen in their life that my heart goes for them, but I didn't have so many things. I don't know why I have so many problems then. And my answer to them is the trauma is not what happened to you outside. Trauma is what happened to you inside. Okay. There could be a minor thing outside, but a child, a 4-year-old or 5-year-old, how they took it inside is what matters. Right? That's why childhood is so important, because children are vulnerable. They don't have capability of recovering from it, or they don't have capability of stepping outside or distancing. They get consumed. A smaller things in child is much more impactful than a bigger thing in an adult life. Right? That's why childhood is so important. That's why therapy spends so much time on the childhood. All this therapy work is mostly about childhood, because that's where the foundation was. That whatever happened outside, how they interpreted the situation. Maybe they had a very loving father, but they interpreted it in the wrong way, and they did not receive that love. They did not allow the love to come inside, or they rejected it, or they didn't appreciate it. It was a trauma, right? How we internalize it decides the trauma. And then that defines our thought process, that defines our personality. It defines our actions. The actions defines our consequences. The consequences and actions both defines our confirmation of our belief. See, if I feel somebody is ignoring me, then I feel bad and I don't want to talk to them. Then they don't talk to me and I feel more ignored then, right? My patterns reinforce those beliefs. All this is going on because of trauma or experiences in life, and it is defining, all this is going on in the mind. What we do through psychiatry is we give them a medicine to decrease the intensity of this. It calms down. We give them a tool through psychotherapy so that they can step back, get insight, and step out of it, can maintain some distance. Now, it could be real that the person may be really ignoring me and I need to do something to talk to them or whatever. But the emotionality behind it is less.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in nursing home, what happens is patients have dementia and they had their own set of traumas in life. Everybody has some traumas. And that defines how they're thinking, how they're interpreting. And anything happens, something from past, which they may not have a memory of it, but it's registered inside them. They start reacting to that. But there is no faculty to analyze it and to step out. They get consumed by it and they start reacting to it. And that's where the behaviors start happening. It becomes more difficult in the nursing home assisted living facilities when they have dementia and cognitive impairment. They're losing their rational mind. That's where the medicines play a bigger role then, because we cannot talk them out of it. We cannot give them insight. We cannot ask them to change your lifestyle. It is where medicine is needed.
They're in whatever reality they see themselves in.
We have to give them a medicine to take out, but we have to give as less medicine as possible and for as less duration as possible so that they don't be on it forever and they don't experience the side effect. Their bodies are aged. They can experience more side effect. They're sensitive to it, the way they're metabolizing the medicine. We have to give them a attention, a regular follow-up to ensure that the medicines they're taking are not taking excessively for unnecessary duration. But we do have to prescribe medicine quickly when these things start happening because we don't want it to progress further. So that's the difference between the nursing home ALF psychiatry and outside world. In outside world, patients are in better control. We can give them psychotherapy tool. We can give them lifestyle modification, spiritual aspect, all these wellness aspect, and medicines. Here, the other aspects are very limited. We have to go with medicines many a time. The regulations are going against the medicines because medicines have side effects, and medicines side effect could be even life-threatening. We have to be careful, but a good practitioner is always ready to prescribe when there is a need and always ready to de-prescribe and reduce the medication when there is a need. That's where a good training, good supervision, and good mentor, good processes and protocols come into play, which we have developed in Balanced Wellbeing. That's how our providers do better because they are well trained and they are constantly being trained and they're learning constantly because I am learning constantly, and learning is a lifelong process. That's the beauty of it, that we can always get better. A good practitioner is always looking for pathologies and taking quick actions when the pathologies start developing and removes it and restores the balance.
Now, as we were saying earlier, when we were talking about psychiatry and psychotherapy and the holistic approach we had mentioned, can you elaborate on that more? What's the difference between psychotherapy and psychiatry? And can you wrap that around what Balanced Wellbeing's holistic approach is?
Yeah, so psychotherapy is a talk therapy. We work with patients through talking, listening, and giving them insight and orientation, insight and knowledge about their underlying psychological dynamics that are coming from their past and how it is progressing their life and how it is controlling their life. It's a talk therapy, like counseling, basically. Whereas psychiatry is about prescribing medications in addition to doing psychotherapy. Psychiatry also are trained in psychotherapy. They also do psychotherapy work, but they also have ability to prescribe medications to help with the process. As I mentioned earlier, is that by prescribing medication, we make it easier for patient to get better. Their symptoms intensity decrease, their emotionality decrease, and now they have more ability to step back and look at the reality. It is also not only for depression, anxiety, for even for psychosis, if they're delusional and paranoid, a medication makes it less intense. They can regain their ability to analyze and see what is true or is not. Psychiatry, psychotherapy works together because psychiatry, by giving medicines, it eases their symptoms. The symptoms are not consuming them. It's not overpowering them, and they have ability to think through. And psychotherapy is where it helps them step by step how to think through properly, how not to be influenced so much by your past, your programming, your conditioning of the mind, and how to be realistic, positive, holistic oriented in your perspective. Gives them a better perspective about life and better coping skills. Now, the balanced well-being treatment is not just psychiatry, psychotherapy. It uses sensory therapy. It uses behavioral activation, socialization, whatever that can help the patient improve. Pet therapy, we use pet therapy also, pet assistance therapy, actual dog that goes into the patient room for them to connect, remember their positive life experiences with pets. In nursing home, unfortunately, we cannot do too much about exercise and diet and lifestyle modifications because they are on certain diet there that is beyond my control. That's a facility and for their funding, and I don't know how it works, but that decides that. If their activity level and all that in elderly is limited because there are physical limitations. We cannot do yoga and all these things to that level in nursing homes because of their frailty and their
That would
limitations.
be interesting to see.
Yeah, but they do chair yoga and all that. But that's the holistic aspect. A balanced well-being takes the holistic aspect, but it primarily is driven by psychiatry and psychotherapy.
Now, let me ask you this. When it comes to mental health, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about mental health that you encounter?
One of the thing is over-identifying with it, making it as our identity, or rejecting it completely and saying does not exist, or it's not me, or there is no problem, taking it as a moral or character weakness, not wanting to acknowledge it. It goes both ways, where either not acknowledging it or taking it as whole identity. The extremes is something that I come across and I feel should be avoided. Stigma is about one side, is where they don't want to acknowledge it. They take shame in it. On the other side, they feel completely helpless and they feel no hope to get out of it. That's also which example you gave. It's other extreme where people feel this is it. This is not it. This is a part of your life. This is part of you or part of attached to you, but it's not whole. Those extremes is what I feel problematic.
Someone that's listening right now and they're caught in that stigma of it being a bad thing or something that they feel they don't need, what can you tell that person that's sitting there that has that stigma of, oh, if I go to a therapist or I get psychotherapy, there's something wrong with me?
If we look at it in one way, there is always something wrong with us, right? Nobody is perfect. To get some help to improve ourselves, what's wrong with that? If I'm not exercising enough, there is something wrong with me. I can do better. But I am not going to beat myself saying something is wrong with me. I'm a horrible person. I'm bad. There is always something that we can work on. We should prioritize that the things that are causing bigger problems first, focus on that. and things that are not causing as much problem, but there is always way to improve. Seeing therapist could be just part of learning about yourself. In psychiatry residency, we had to go through therapy. Even if there is nothing wrong, even if there is no symptoms, we have to go through the psychotherapy because to learn about ourselves, to learn about psychotherapy process, it's a learning experience. And life is a learning experience in general. Doesn't mean something is wrong with us. It just means we have to learn. We have to always learn and keep evolving.
Now, with your number of years in psychiatry, how has your understanding of mental health changed and adapted over time?
I just learned more and more over the years. I would say in my earlier days, I didn't even know what depression is. And now I know so much more, not only depression symptoms, signs, how it affects the life, what are the underlying biological factors, what are the other contributing factors, what is the good management, what can be done. It's just getting deeper and deeper, and there is so much more to learn, which I look forward to. But that is just depression. Then there is anxiety, then there is dementia, then there is bipolar, and then there is personality disorders and addiction and forensic problems. It's just fascinating. It's like mental health is such a vast field. There's a child and adolescent psychiatry and ADHD, and then there is geriatric psychiatry with dementia and old age issues, and there is medical illnesses affecting the brain. Then there is a community challenges affecting the mental health of the community. It's like vast field. I'm appreciating more and learning and enjoying it and applying it on myself first before applying on others.
Is there a lesson you've learned working with any of your patients or something that you remember from your entire time of working in mental health that you've taken and carried with you?
Well, I am learning every day. Patients are one of the sources where I learn. I cannot pinpoint on anything specific right now, but for example, once I was just asking patient a question, what gives you strength? And it was interesting to notice majority said God gives me strength or my higher power gives me strength. I was expecting their family members, their children, their spouse, or their colleagues' work, or it came from that. It always is learning. Patience is one source. I learn every day. Books, colleagues, YouTube, media. There's so many
Everyone has
places.
said YouTube that's been on here so far.
There are so many good videos there. But again, there are misguidance also. I'm glad that I have a good foundation to know what is right information, what is not right information. But even if it's not right information, there are things that are right in it that we can pick up and take it. In my perspective, everything is right. We just have to pick up the right thing at the right time.
There's right in everything.
Right in everything. That's a better way of to say it.
I like that. From what I gathered with everything, with balanced well-being, in all of your answers, a lot of it you're saying the right amount of everything. With that being said, in running the business you run, it's a large company with, at the moment in time, probably close to 200 employees.
250 plus.
250 plus employees, and being in around 450 senior living facilities in the state of Florida. Being a dad, a husband, what do you define a life well balanced? How do you define that?
So for the record purposes, this is June 2025. The number may go up, or who knows, number may go down. Who knows? We can only try. I just feel fortunate and blessed that this day has happened, and I feel grateful for that we are so many facilities, we have so many good team members, a size of company. I would say this all happened naturally. I don't have any specific goals in future. that I want to have this big or that. I just want to keep on doing what I'm doing and get better at it. Whether I am a administrative leader, or whether I'm a clinical psychiatrist, or a person in spirituality, or a husband, or a dad, whatever it is, I just want to do better. Have I achieved the perfection? Absolutely not. I don't think I will achieve the perfection, but I can only do better and excel. A well balanced life, I would imagine, is for me is to stay in a zone of awareness, able to do all of it with proper attention. In my mind, the balance is not 4 hours of family time, 8 hours of work, 6 hours of sleep, but it's not in my definition balance. Or 10 days of vacation. It's not like that. I don't think that way. For me, balance is utilizing my resources inside in a way that I can give my best in a moment. Whether I'm talking to a patient, whether I'm doing a note, whether I am talking to a family member, or whether I am listening, reading, it's just doing it best as much as possible. Now, best is also overwhelming word, because giving my best can be overwhelming, can be draining. So giving as good as possible, I would say, for anything I'm doing. I think that is my balance. Otherwise, it's very hard to do everything in that particular time limit.
I like that. That was really good.
Yeah, some people sleep 4 hours and they feel rested, and some need 8 hours. I don't know what balance means for that in that case. It's like, are you feeling balanced moment?
Moment by moment.
Yeah, if you
Being
feel
present.
balanced moment by moment, then that's fine. People complain that when I go on vacation, I'm working, because I like it. Even when I'm working, I feel relaxed. For me, that's a vacation. For me, life is not compartmentalized. There is life, there is work, there is family, and then there is a balance. There is no compartmentalization.
I want to be mindful of your time here, so we're going to jump into our speed round. I just want to thank you again for being here, and it has been a blast for me having you come in here and chatting with you, just learning more about you and your belief systems, and then just getting the knowledge that you have about psychiatry and psychotherapy and business and everything. So thank you again for jumping on the podcast that you sponsor.
It's easy to be featured when you're a sponsor.
But so what we're going to do is jump into what we call balanced or unbalanced. I'm going to ask you some questions. Your answer is going to be balanced or unbalanced.
Okay.
If you want to elaborate some, you can. If not, you don't have to. Balanced or unbalanced? Building a mental health company while actively treating patients.
Balanced.
Skipping your own therapy sessions during high growth seasons.
Unbalanced.
Treating staff like family.
Balanced.
Relying on spirituality instead of mental health practices.
I would say relying on spirituality in addition to the mental health practice is balanced. Instead of, I would not say, it will be unbalanced.
Scheduling time to walk barefoot outside.
Balanced, but again, I would not beat myself if I'm not doing that.
I feel like it might be not even a scheduled thing, just, I have time to walk barefoot outside right now.
Or if you're walking barefoot, then be attentive to that. That's more important than trying to walk in a specific time.
Okay. Balanced or unbalanced self-medicating.
Well, it depends. If we are medicating for right reason by prescriber, then it's a balance. But if we are self-medicating, means using drugs, alcohol, or even the prescription medication without prescription, then that's unbalanced.
having boundaries with work?
I don't understand boundaries. For me, just doing right thing, feeling satisfied inside, whatever boundary that sets, that's, I would say, balanced.
Skipping meditation practices to catch up on work.
You see, the easy answer is unbalanced, but sometimes work takes over and it's okay. Meditation is not a name of activity. It's the, I would say, name of state of mind. If we can maintain a state of mind while working, then it's okay to skip. But if we have difficulty maintaining that and we want to do extra sessions of meditation, then that's also okay.
Okay. Balanced or unbalanced? Coming on the Life Well Balanced podcast.
Balance, definitely.
Before we jump off, if anyone wants to find you, where can they find you? Social media, website?
I am on LinkedIn. I don't have Facebook account. I wanted to, but I just never paid attention to that as much. I do have a zombie Facebook account. But I would say contact our Balanced Wellbeing number and they will send message to me, or yeah, that would be the best way to do it. There is an email address also, but I don't know, audience of this podcast is so wide that if email address would be appropriate, I would say call 877-779-2429 number of our company and they will get the message to me.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. We appreciate you being on here.
Sure. Thank you for a wonderful interview. Looking forward to more of these and looking forward to other speakers and learning from them and spreading the good vibe that you're doing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. This podcast is made possible by Balanced Wellbeing, psychiatric and psychological care. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And if you want, click that share button. We appreciate you.